I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by regret and bad choices.
Are you ready?
Starting now?
Oh, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now.
All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And, honestly, I thought that after a couple of weeks of having guests in the house, the podcast house and stuff like that, I thought, we'd have some pent-up energy, a couple of weeks worth, come in here like, on fucking fire. But,
right.
hi, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm burning up, so yeah, sure, that works.
Once again, I think I said this whatever it was, probably a handful of months ago. I'm holding my left hand up really high. There's the weather up there.
Uh-huh.
Then my right hand as low as I can get it, and there's Mike way under the weather, right? Am I right?
You are right.
But you know what? Here's the cool part. Not going to say this is the cool part. You called off of work today, correct?
I did.
Okay. We are 106. This is 162 times that neither one of us have called off,
Right.
Here.
Yeah.
But to Mike's point, we were kind of shooting the shit for what, I don't know, less than a minute or something like that. And, he said we might not go the whole 90 minutes and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't care. He said, well, what'd you say? You might start doing what at any time?
I might start the fuck off at any time, so be prepared.
You know what? Do that. I don't even care. Whatever we're doing.
Fuck off. No, not quite yet.
Yeah, shortest episode ever. So.
Right.
But no, that's cool. Whatever. I mean, people will understand if they don't fuck them, because that's the way that we roll, right?
Right. Well, I heard some point at good luck with all this. I heard at some place, just half the deal or 90% of the deal or some percentage of the deal is showing up. So here I am, take it or leave it.
Yeah. So, in the cool part is I also told Mike, I'm like, have you met me? I said I talk a lot, so I think we're okay. All he's got to do is grunt and whatever. But part of this is I do ask you questions, but hey, your answers might be a little shorter, so maybe I'll just have to tell some stories. I have a couple of stories.
All right.
So I think we got enough to round out this episode. So two things real quick. First of all, with the guests we had over the last couple of weeks. Thank you again to Tom. Obviously, we had Tom on episode 160, so that was 2 episodes ago. Tom Farley, if you guys haven't been paying attention, go back and listen. Great conversation with him. Yes, we talked about his brother Chris, but just a great conversation with Tom. And then last week we had our good friend Elise on from the Sober Curator. The Sober Curator podcast launched on this past Wednesday, the 26th of March. 5 episodes dropped already right off the bat.
Wow, they know what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's again, just to recap, we had no idea. We found out 3 months into it, that we should have had that. And it makes sense because the whole point is it is a binge society, and that's how you grab people, is give them
Used
more
to
than
be. That's old behavior. I don't binge anymore.
Okay, so the society normies when it comes to TV watching and content. People do it. We didn't know well enough in the first couple of episodes. I mean, mine was short, and then we did the behind the scenes, and then your episode. I mean, it wasn't really, I don't know, whatever it is. It happened, and it is what it is. But
Right.
So the one question I have for you right off the bat, though, so we know that we had the least number of fucks with Tom a couple of weeks ago with 12. And last week we did have a guest, and usually it's down a little bit, but it was our friend Elise. I don't remember if she actually swore at all, but I mean, we're comfortable around her. So where do you think we came in with that? Just throw out a guess. We didn't hit a record or anything like that.
No,
but
I'm sure we didn't.
It wasn't embarrassingly low either.
Oh, let's shoot for that century mark. Nah, probably not that high. Well, let's go.
Stop.
65. Go ahead.
Stop. First thought, right?
Yeah. Oh, really? Hey, write that down somewhere.
102.
Oh, nice.
I was going to say, before you went any further, it's okay. I know we usually say first thought wrong, but
right.
It was 102, and I was actually kind of surprised about that. So,
surprised and proud.
Well, and the thing of it is, though, I mean, seriously, it's as opposed to whatever it was a couple years ago when we had her on, or almost 2 years ago. We didn't know her. I mean, now we do, and obviously we're comfortable. She's a friend, so it was, I think, a different story. And then one last thing, and I'll get into something else I'd like to talk about, but I'll say our friend Morgan, because she is a friend of the podcast, but my friend Morgan, who I visited in Oklahoma City a couple of times,
right?
Her 6-year anniversary was on Wednesday.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And she's not on, she took down her sober profile, probably 3-4 months ago, for many reasons. I know some of them, but it's her story to tell, not mine.
Right.
And then, she's still on there, but, on a personal level, and, obviously posts about family and her kids and all that sort of stuff. But, I had a reminder set about her anniversary, completely, of course, forgot until it popped up in the morning. I'm like, hey there. But, so 6 years for our friend Morgan. But I've got a couple of things. I just want to, I want to talk about anniversaries because I was listening to a podcast about it. Plus, we got a couple of anniversaries coming up shortly. So
eventually,
yeah,
I'm not dead. As I sit here waiting for the sweet embrace.
It's just kind of funny. If I'm not dead, okay, Cameron. I'll start calling you Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Right.
You're not dying, Cameron. You're just bored. You don't know what to do.
Right.
All right. So, do you feel up for reading? If not, I can grab my phone. I'll just read some shit. I don't care. It's up to you.
You know what? Yeah, I got one.
Okay. Because I was going to offer. I was just going to grab for you to pick out the thing. I could find it, and I'd be more than happy to pinch hit for you. Speaking of that, hang on 1 second.
Yeah. Yay. Yep. I laid on the couch yesterday and watched 2 games.
Yeah, and they talked about it on the radio. Of course, I hear that on the morning show, and then I saw you post about it. Herman Munster swinging a baseball bat. I thought that was
no, that was Boris Karloff.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was the actual monster.
Okay, you know what?
Yep.
I scrolled through it so quick and I saw it, and it just did. Herman Munster popped into my head, and I thought it was funny. But anyhow, so I'm sorry, Boris Karloff.
Right.
Wait, you know what? I've had a little bit of a cold. Let's talk about that. You want to talk about that for a second?
What? Go ahead.
So I have had, my January, February, the whole altitude shit all fucked with my sinuses and everything.
Right.
And kind of coming out of that, I think I've had a mild cold now, and I'm not shitting you, for probably a month, and to the point where, I mean, I'm stuffed up every morning, a little run down, a little tired, that sort of thing. I was literally thinking about tomorrow doing like an online thing. It might be worth the $45 just to say, okay, this is what's going on. Is there anything that I should do differently, type of thing, I'm taking cold medicine. I got the nasal spray, the different things, whatever. It's just, it's not going away,
Right.
So, I don't feel terrible, but I don't I don't know. Maybe this is just a new level of how I feel from now on.
Welcome to it, man.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where I'm like, at certain points, literally, I'm like, is are my shoulders always going to hurt now? Are my knees? I know my knees are always going to hurt. Am I always going to feel, like an old fucking Buick when I get up in the morning? I mean,
Yeah.
all these are normal, or am I actually have a cold? I don't know. But anyhow.
Uh-huh.
So if you're
Right.
ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's see if I can do this. And I can't guarantee anything. This is actually from the 24-hour book. Ooh. Because I read it this morning and I thought it was pretty good. Of course, I could have been delirious and I haven't read it since, so it might be garbage. But I do know one thing. The G word is only mentioned once in this entire reading.
Really?
I thought that was, I know. I thought that was kind of notable. So I was all, well, what the hell, man? Like I said, I think it's good.
The G word.
Yeah. All right. So, yes, from the 24 Hours a Day book, March 28th, AA Thought for the Day. When you come into an AA meeting, you're not just coming into a meeting, you're coming into a new life. I'm always impressed by the change I see in people after they've been in AA for a while. I sometimes take an inventory of myself to see whether I have changed, and if so, in what way. Before I met AA, I was very selfish. I wanted my own way in everything. I don't believe I ever grew up. When things went wrong, I sulked like a spoiled child and often went out and got drunk. Am I still all get and no give? Meditation for the day. There are two things that we must have if we are going to change our way of life. One is faith, the confidence in things unseen, the fundamental goodness and purpose of the universe. The other is obedience, that is, living according to our faith, living each day as we believe that God wants us to live, with gratitude, humility, honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. Faith and obedience, these two will give us the strength we need to overcome sin and temptation and to live a new and more abundant life. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have more faith and obedience. I pray that I may live a more abundant life as a result of those things.
So do you think, and we've talked about, first of all, when I read that this morning, it's funny because I didn't notice, I didn't notice that there was only one G word in there.
Right.
But that is kind of funny because, I know, well, maybe it's just because I noticed when all the other ones are in there. But anyhow, we talked about faith a lot. And when I read that, obviously the faith and obedience didn't really stick out to me like it did now when you read it. So again, we've talked about faith, but I mean, do you feel that way, faith and obedience? I mean, is that a correct word, or do you feel that that's a correct word for that?
No, actually, I kind of do. I mean, our routines and, the things that we have to do every day are definitely a form of obedience, making our bed every day. I mean, that's, it is kind of a form of obedience, which is kind of why I liked it this morning. Although my bed's only half-ass made because I've been in and out of it all day. But you know what? I get up out of it and I kind of smooth the cover down and because I'm obedient that way.
Yeah, but that was just kind of funny because when, I don't know what, maybe it's I don't even know, maybe not maybe, but it's the egotist in me that doesn't want to be, I don't necessarily, I'm not a fan of the word obedience in normal cases, and I didn't pay attention to it. So again, one God word didn't offend me, or I didn't notice it in the word obedience didn't offend me because it is. I mean, what you said is 100% correct, but when you read it, it's like hearing it versus reading it, different story, which is one of the reasons I really appreciate, a couple years ago, whenever it was that you brought it up to do these readings every week.
Right.
It's a great way, I think, to start the podcast. I think other people enjoy them. We've heard from a couple, but I do. I like hearing back what I've read, and I always hear something different, and that was the thing. So, but you're right. I mean, whether we call it what you will, but obedience is the right way to put it. Yes, we're being obedient individuals, but it's not I don't consider I don't feel like I'm being ordered around, and that's usually
Right.
what you seem or what the word obedience feels like is that this
Mm-hmm.
finger pointing, yeah,
Rolled up newspaper.
right. And I was just thinking about it. I'm like, we got some fingers pointed at us, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever got hit with a rolled up newspaper by anyone in the program. I
No.
may I may have never been hit by anyone with a rolled up newspaper. Come to think of it, maybe who
No,
knows?
I'm sure I have.
Yeah,
But
well,
right. There's been a few I've wanted to hit with a rolled up newspaper,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, the obedience part, I mean, we're following this program. We're following orders. I mean, suggestions, because, Bob and Bill knew not to fucking tell us that they were orders or we wouldn't do them. So yeah, but we're being obedient to the program, again, back to the first step shit, I don't, I don't manage my own life, man. I'm obedient to the shit that these people told me to do to stay away from that first one. And yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world.
right.
I
Well,
don't have
even
to feel like this every day, just occasionally.
well, that's a good point because it is funny because anytime that I've had and I remember the kind of stepping back into the like our first 30 days and stuff like that. Every one of us
Mm-hmm.
got sick. I know you did. I did.
Right.
The fucking Keating crud or whatever the hell it
Yup.
was, and when you're just coming out of years of drinking and hangovers and probably everyone else drugs and hangovers and coming
Mm-hmm.
down and withdrawals and all this different shit, and then you start to feel good even for a couple of weeks, and then you get sick. It's
Yep.
like, oh fuck, man. Or have your first sleepless night or something like that. You're like, this is fucking terrible.
Yes.
And I mean, we dealt with it every goddamn day. So yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, and I just thought about hey, what an order. I can't go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, even though they didn't, all these steps are, suggestions. I mean, that's right there and how it works. It's I
Mm-hmm.
exclaimed, what an order, but it
Uh-huh.
is.
It
Um,
is.
and yeah, it's funny, but here, I guess, and we talked about it. I was going to say, here's the deal, but we talked about this before is that there's nothing else, no other circumstance, no other individual, no other thing in my life or activity or anything like that that I've ever been involved in that I've taken this type of direction from ever. And
Right.
gladly, knowingly, without complaining about it, without questioning it. From the group in general, from individuals,
Mm-hmm.
unless you meet, we've met them. We know some of them that are off their fucking rockers that are
Uh-huh.
sober,
Right. Right.
but not people that we really want to follow or be told what to do. But
Mm-hmm.
95% of the people, 90% of the people,
Yes.
if they ask us, tell us, or suggest that we do something, it's for our own fucking good, and we should do it.
Right. Right. And that would be the faith part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I have faith that these fuckers aren't trying to hurt me and aren't lying to me and, or try to make me a better person for the next guy down the road.
Right. Well, in the first couple of things I wrote down were, it was something about getting into a new life and have I changed? And of course, yes and yes. Obviously, this is a new
Mm-hmm.
life, and I know I've changed.
Right.
And I'll talk about last weekend too with my grandson's birthday, and my exes were there and all that stuff. But
Uh-huh.
couple of key things that were kind of fun. Fun, but also I don't know, nice things that were
Mm-hmm.
said. But
Right.
the never grew up part, and sulking
Mm.
like a child. I mean, we joke about, obviously, what's the name of this podcast, as you always say.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I mean, we've grown
Oh,
up,
for sure.
um,
Absolutely.
but I mean, yeah, at the time, and I used to do that all the time. Anything didn't go my
Anything.
way.
Yep.
Again, I keep catching myself. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Right. Well, that's
Um,
growth.
yeah, that is. I grew up enough to be like, oh, sometimes, no, all the fucking
No,
time.
all the time.
Yeah, when shit didn't go my way, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I threw a fit,
Yep.
sulked, and it wasn't even sulking as much, maybe, but throwing a
Yeah.
fit and making everyone
Yeah.
else's life fucking miserable.
Throwing yourself on the ground and kicking your feet and screaming and yeah, right. Like a goddamn 2-year-old.
Right, right, and I'll be the first one to admit that I don't like it to this day when things don't, again, I'll say go my way,
Mm.
quote unquote, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone does necessarily. We don't
No,
as
of course
alcoholics
not.
and addicts, but um I think going back to the growing up part, I think I've grown up enough to realize that, well, it is what it is,
Right. Well, as
and
you've said plenty of times, why not me?
right. Yeah. And I'll tell you that, it was funny. I think was it yesterday or maybe it was yesterday? I
Mm.
think it was yesterday. I had, I don't know, it was break time or whatever. And went down and I was going downstairs to get a cup of coffee. And I'm, coming down the stairs. I'm like, God, I'm in a fucking good mood. I'm like, why am I in a good mood? And I'll tell you, I'm not going to get into details because I guess part of it is nobody's fucking business. I mean, not that it
Mhm.
wouldn't be your business, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to spit it out into an open microphone. But it's been a weird few weeks, and it's been financial shit, and things are
Mhm.
getting better at work. I mean, I'm making more money this month than I have, but I get some shit weighing down on me. It's back to the car, and it's the insurance, and
Right.
it's these different things, and now I got to sit back and figure out if I can take a trip in May, which is not
Mhm.
that expensive, but I'm like, God, should I do it? And I think I can afford it. I'm putting everything down on paper, but it's
Mhm.
just I'm frustrated with that because I'm like, well, fuck, but I get it. I'm accepting of it and all those sort of things, but um, I don't know. It's been weird stuff. But then that's literally why, because I was in this up and down, this mood swing moods, my
Mhm.
mood swings, over the last couple of weeks. I'm like really fucking happy. And I'm like, fuck the world. And then I'm happy. And I'm like, oh, fuck you and fuck me type of thing, I mean,
Uh-huh.
not really fuck the world, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like, why am I in a good mood right now? And I'm like, why am I questioning myself?
Yes.
Why not me? I can be in a good mood. So fuck all of you, right?
Sure.
But get no give. That was another thing.
Mhm.
We've talked about that. Always looking for something.
Mhm.
What can we get out of it?
Right. Yeah, being a
Um,
taker.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And then the other thing that I remembered specifically about not the God stuff, but that I remembered about the reading was the absolutes were packed in there with a couple of
Mhm.
other words, but
Right.
and again, it's honesty, unselfishness, purity, and love.
Right.
Those things that we've talked about, so many times. But I don't. I wish I thought about the absolutes. I think I probably do deep down.
Mhm.
They've got to be ingrained in my brain and in my soul.
Right.
But I don't think about them openly that much. So it was nice, to obviously to see that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime we could be reminded of those four absolutes is a good thing.
Right. And just to remind everyone too out there, if you're one of the new-ish or newer listeners, if you haven't heard of the absolutes, just look up recovery AA absolutes. It went back to the Oxford group though, right? The
Mhm. Yeah.
absolutes.
Yeah.
And if you look back at our episode, I don't remember the episode number, but it's was the absolute bottle.
Right. Yeah. The vodka bottle is
Yeah, the
the
absolute.
thumbnail.
So we did. We had an episode where we talked about them and
Mhm.
the importance of what they were. And it's one of the old episodes, the fucked up audio and whatever. But
Yeah.
the whole point is that if you honesty, unselfishness, purity, and love, if you're going to make any decision in life, we
Mhm.
were taught this early on. Run those through the absolutes. Is it
Yep.
honest? Is it unselfish? Is it pure? Is it loving? And it doesn't have to
Yep.
be a romantic love. Are you doing
No, of
something
course
in
not.
in a love not hate way?
Yep.
And if you can run a thing through there, doesn't hurt to get another opinion, but you're
Mhm.
usually probably okay if you're
Yeah.
if you get it
Yeah.
through there.
Absolutely.
And
Ha.
if you, you said it before, and I was gonna leave you be because I know you're not thinking about that. You said that twice already when you were
I'm
talking
sure I
about it, but
did.
and it's okay. I wasn't gonna poke at that because I'm trying to be nice to you. This is gonna be one of the everyone write that down.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Put a big star next to this episode.
Yeah, wait a second. There's a couple of things I got to cross off that I was going to ask you to piss you off. No, I'm just kidding. I did think about that the other day. There was something that I can't even remember what the fuck it was, but I'm like, God, I think probably an article that I read. I'm like, I'm not going to get that one. That'll piss Mike off. And
Yeah.
it's just it's one of those things that every once in a while, and sometimes I do it, thinking this is probably going to get a reaction that I really want because I think it'll be funny.
Mhm.
But the funniest ones are when you get mad about something or you get bothered by something that I didn't do I didn't provide that thing to
Uh-huh.
try to kind of get you riled up and you do, and that makes me laugh my ass off every time.
Well, I'm glad to help.
So, what else? What else on the reading? I mean, in general, faith and obedience, and that's why I really wanted to get the opinion on the obedience part. And I mean, what you said makes sense. But anything else on there that like stuck out to you other than that?
Nope. Now it's time to fuck off. Oh wait, no, not yet. Not yet.
All right. Well, cool. Well, you know what? I like that. It's a rare reading on the Sober Not Mature podcast from the 24-hour book. Every once in a while, we get those, and I'll post them every once in a while too, because
Sure.
I usually don't when they're like this morning. I like the reading, but it was more AA based, and I try to again, obviously we are AA based, but I try not to put that on Instagram because again, I know we've got people that are not,
Right.
and I want people to get something out of a reading, not look away like they see fucking AA and they take away, walk away from the message, which is,
Right.
It's on
Yeah.
somebody else, but hey,
keep your fucking mind open, assholes.
I know. That's just, that's me trying to provide, decent, just decent content to our listeners and our readers, hopefully. But, I've grown up. I'm not all get and no give.
Right.
I'm living by the absolutes. I'm being honest. Unselfish, I think. But okay, so we talked about obviously the fucks. We talked about the anniversary thing. Okay, so the quick thing on the anniversary part, I was listening to a podcast, and I'm not going to mention. It doesn't matter who it was,
right?
But they had brought up about one of the individuals had just celebrated an anniversary. It was a decent one, decent amount of time. And not that 1, 2, 3 years isn't, but again, multiple years of sobriety. And the individual forgot about the anniversary until the person got a text from the other host that morning. And when I heard that, I'm like, really? Okay. Now, once again, nothing wrong with it, because the way they approached this was both of them are like this. One's got 10, the other one's got 14 or 15, right along those lines. And in their mindset is they, kind of how we feel of all these things are, it's part of our day to day. We do these things. We don't necessarily have to sit down and really, I don't know, we don't have to think about what we do. A lot of this stuff is ingrained and part of and all that stuff.
Sure.
Whereas sometimes they just don't even think about the anniversaries. They like celebrating others, but not necessarily theirs. If somebody congratulates them, that's fine. They don't want a big deal out of it. They don't like, a special coin. And I'm like, I like all of this. I like all of that. Which again, to their point, they're like, if anyone out there goes the other direction, more power to you. We just don't. And I'm of the same opinion. I have nothing against them for not recognizing or forgetting. I just don't understand it,
Right.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. It just it is beyond my well, I look at my sobriety. I don't know. I could never.
It's a fucking sobriety date, man. It's
right.
kind of a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, it's right. It's the first fucking sober day we had, and it's kind of means something to me. I know that. Right. Yeah. I forgot about it. Really? I mean, I probably in part it means as much to us as it does because it was ingrained into us early on. You don't fucking forget your sobriety date, or you have to get a new one. Right. And I makes sense to me. I got to remember my sobriety, and more importantly, I've got to remember the day before. Yeah. So I mean, if I remember the day before, I'm probably going to remember that day too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I thought about the same thing that, and people telling us that very early on. You better remember your date, because if you don't, you're bound to repeat it. Or get a new one. Yeah, like you said, repeat it, get a new one, whatever the case is. And that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well, does.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, it still does.
It still does. I hope it always will.
Right. But I don't know. And we've talked about that kind of jokingly, but it is. I mean, there is. Yes, I'll post things from screenshots of my sobriety counter on I don't want to even say on a semi-regular basis, on occasion when I get even numbers or things like this, or double numbers, whatever the case is, or 130,000, whatever it is, when the number catches my eye, I'm like, well, that looks kind of fucking cool. And I'll post it. Now, I don't post it with the mindset of look at me, but I know people are going to look at me, so I'm not stupid,
Right.
And I know people, I'm not looking for a pat on the back, but I know people are going to do that, and I'm fine with it. I don't get mad if they would or would not.
Right.
It's just something that it's again, it's a big deal for me. And I do,
Yeah.
I look at my sobriety counter. I do the 24-hour book. I do, keep it simple. I do a set of prayers. I do God grant me. Then I look at my sobriety counter, and then I do touchstones. So I mean that's my morning, and I do that every single morning. And the touchstones used to be a day at a time, and it used to be some other fucking thing. But it's the second to last thing I do before I do that last reading, and then I do a quick
Yeah.
a quick thing at the end, which is basically the 7-step prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's I look at it every single day. I don't know when I started doing that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a motivator, and it's a reminder for me.
Yeah.
Motivator that, hey, I this is cool, but also a reminder that all this shit can go away.
Yeah.
With one fucking wild hair up my ass.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that today.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Without that obedience.
Good point. Yeah. See, look at that. Wrap back around. I can say it. I can speak. But yeah, it's one of those things that I just, I don't know. I don't understand it, but I'm not faulting them for not remembering.
Yeah.
But it's completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to not to forget your anniversary.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
Yeah. It's I mean, I start off every lead with, I've got some things that are important to me. And one of them is my sobriety date, because it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny when I thought about it a couple weeks ago. Well, actually, would have been a couple of weeks ago now. It was 2 years for me, 2 years ago, that I quit smoking on
Mm-hmm.
the 14th, which
Yeah.
I never thought I'd forget that, because that's the day my dad died.
Right.
And I knew the day my dad died, but it didn't click. And I was coming in from outside, where I think it was when I was still in Wisconsin. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, what the fuck day is it? And I'm
Yeah.
looking, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So I forgot that one, but I mean, it's important to me.
Sure.
But not as important to me. And
Yeah.
maybe that's the key there. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense to me.
But yeah, I still vape. It's not like
Right.
I'm completely
Nicotine
clean of.
free.
Yeah, I'm not completely clean of nicotine or anything like that. So, all right. So nothing more on anniversaries. Oh, I have another anniversary coming up.
Do you?
1 year of I have a hobo anniversary.
Ah.
Hobiversary.
Sure.
Yeah, and it'll actually be next weekend. Because I was thinking about that. I'm like, when did I actually start? Because I did the couple of I don't know, test trips, trial trips, whatever you want to call it. I went down to
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina, and I was in Fond du Lac at this time last year for Ollie's birthday. That was
Right.
the first week that I worked when I was out of town. So that was my last real test trip in March. And then April 6th is when I went down to the Ozarks, then up by you, and then Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
Texas, and did that whole thing. And I was thinking about it. That was the mindset. I'm like, okay, I'm walking out the door and I'm never fucking coming back. And then 2 months later, I'm like, yeah, woo, I gotta go hang out for a month, man. I just spent a little bit, of money, but that was the whole thing. It's just the first couple of months out of the gate when I started this job, you start making a little bit of money, and it's evened out. I make it around the same, but
Mm-hmm.
I haven't made the strides that I had hoped for. I still, whenever I get kicked up to that next level, it'll help, but that's a whole nother story.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I gotta take a little break every once in a while. But I went through in the last year, I've been to 20 different places. So 20 individual Airbnbs,
Right.
and it comes down to 31 weeks if I added up right.
Nice.
Because I mean, Texas was 3,
Right.
up in northern Wisconsin was 3, 2 Phoenix, couple here, that sort of thing.
Right.
I was in 3 in North Carolina, a place I'm going next weekend. So figuring it back and forth, and then I was at your place, our anniversary week, and then end of September, October, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those are the two weeks. I was trying to think about that, because I mean, those are considered travel weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
Technically, but
Sure.
so yeah, I mean, 30 in a year's time, 33 out of 52 weeks I traveled, which
Nice.
is, Yeah, and I mean, when I really look back on it, because I mean, the Phoenix trip kind of I don't want to say it crippled me, but it put a little little limp in my step, you know. But
hobbled you
no,
just a little bit.
just it hobbled me just a little bit. I'm like, oh God, got to catch my balance on that
Uh-huh.
motherfucker. No regrets. I mean, it was a great trip, and it was a whole lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I was looking back, and I mean the amount of money that I have owed right now that I'm paying on is not extravagant or anything like that. Again, it goes back to the car, the insurance, a couple other things, blah blah blah. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's I don't know. I looked, I'm like, well, it's I don't know. I felt good about it, you know,
Yeah.
and like you and I were talking at one time, you know, where people are, you know, going into the brand new year, like, oh, like 2024 is fucking terrible. 25 has turned out to be terrible too, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on in your life? I mean, what? Do
Yeah.
something different.
Exactly.
I'm not saying, you know, give up your place to live and go travel everywhere, but hey, if that's what makes you happy, go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like we were talking about, it's like, what makes you happy? Do more of that, you know?
Yes.
What helps you stay sober? Do fucking more of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just we're responsible for happiness as a byproduct, but do we agree that we're responsible for our unhappiness?
We're responsible for all of it.
Right. But I mean, but happiness is a byproduct. We do the right thing and then we get happiness. But if we're unhappy, that's something to change. We can't necessarily, I don't know. I think about
Yeah.
it. It's,
Well,
e-
I
it's
mean,
easier.
it's probably a byproduct of doing the wrong thing.
You know what? Thank you. You just made it so. Could it be that simple? Could it
It
be
can.
that simple?
And now it's time to fuck off.
Literally, I was sitting there, I get this all fucking complicated in my head. I'm like, they're like, yeah, it's a byproduct to doing the wrong thing. Jesus fucking
Yep.
Christ. And you're the one with the stuff. I get a little bit of a stuffy head, but you're the one that's not fucking feeling well.
Right. Yeah. I've got the balloon head.
Well, and you don't feel good. Hello.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be here all night. So do you want to take a quick break and catch your breakfast?
Catch my breakfast.
Catch your breakfast in your breath for like 7 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We'll be back with more of whatever the hell this is right after these words from our sponsors.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi
and,
there.
yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have two websites now. So two websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. So but from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, at least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone. Welcome back. Whatever the hell this is. Okay, so I got a few more things. And you know what? Relax for a minute. I got a couple of stories. You ready for some stories?
Ooh, story time. I'm ready.
So first of all, I am going to be representing this little podcast on a recording for the Sober Curator podcast tomorrow. Now,
Yeah.
the episode doesn't come out tomorrow; it's just being recorded tomorrow. But once I tell you what it is, you would have hated it anyhow, and I'll tell you what it is. So there is it just happened out of the blue this week. There's a show on Netflix called Running Point. Okay,
Okay.
which I know you've never seen. Do you have
Nope.
Netflix?
I do not.
Okay, I guess I didn't even know if you ever did. So yeah, it's not a show on MeTV or on TED TV.
Right.
I'm just fucking with you because you and I have sat there and watched
Turner classic movies.
but you and I seriously have sat there and watched. I watched some old shit with you, and I'm like, this is kind of fun, So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making fun of you, but not really, sort of, but not really.
Right.
But it's
Is it
called
featured
Running
on Adam 12.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't on the Love Boat or anything like that. So
Damn. All right.
wasn't on Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or. So it's called Running Point. It has Kate Hudson, Justin Theroux's in it. It's basically about this. It's a Los Angeles professional basketball team called, I think it's called the Waves or something like that. I don't even know what it is. But this family owns the basketball team. Kate Hudson, Justin Theroux are part of the family. Then there's two brothers. Long story short, Justin Theroux is a raging fucking drug addict and alcoholic.
All right.
And the show starts off, he's the one that's running the company. Their dad had died. That part of it very funny. His character is actually fucking cracks me up the entire time. But he ends up going into this rehab to try to obviously save his reputation, the family's reputation, and the whole thing, blah, 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 and appoints his sister, Kate Hudson, to run the team. So a little bit about alcohol and drug abuse and in this funny Justin Theroux character into, obviously a female, the girl power type of thing. I'm sure that's kind of probably what drew, Elise and maybe Tamara into the whole thing, plus the alcohol part of it. But they had posted this review on it. I'm like, that was a fun show. They had like 10 episodes, 30-minute episodes. One brother is just a fucking goofball. The other one's gay. The dynamic between those two is fucking hilarious. So I'm like, I said, that show was great. I watched whatever. And then Elise texted me and she's like, do you want to come on? And we'll do an episode of the podcast talking about the show. I'm like, well, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that came about. But
right.
And I'm like, even if it was a show that you watched, you'd probably fucking hate every second of it. So
Probably.
But yeah, one way or the other. I mean, it was again fucking random, but we're gonna record at like noon tomorrow. I have no idea when it'll come out, but obviously we'll promote it and talk about it whenever it does.
Right. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for more. And seriously, go over and I listened to the first episode and a half of the Sober Curator one, and they're getting their feet under them. They're getting it's good, it's entertaining, it's engaging, and it's produced really well because they put a lot of time and effort into it.
What's that like?
Yeah, I know, and it's nice. I mean, you can tell that the time that they took to get this thing launched and off the ground, it shows.
Cool.
So yeah, again, go listen to it. Sober Curator podcast. It's on Spotify and all that stuff. So last weekend was obviously Mike, but my grandson's birthday was on the 15th. That was his third birthday, and then we had the I say my daughter and son-in-law. I was involved in his or invited to at least his third birthday party. It was at this kind of like kids building museum. It reminded me of like a Discovery World or something like that. I don't know if they had those in Cleveland, but they have them in Milwaukee. But it's just this whole area where they have rooms where you can go in, like the little party rooms. But they're also classrooms. You can tell they're classrooms, so they must have kids in there. I don't know if they bring school kids in and teach whatever they do. But it's this whole playground stuff, all these different, the climbing things, little learning tools, a whole bit, 2 stories. It's pretty fucking amazing. So we go in there and obviously get everyone together, but the kids are all scattered. Kimmy had like bagels and some just I don't know, snacky stuff, obviously vegetable tray, whatever, little things like that. Just trying to get everyone together to kind of have like these little pudding bowls that Pam made, my ex. But the first thing that was funny was so I was in West Bend and still like an hour and 20 minutes or whatever to get up there. I plan on getting up early, helping them decorate. So I'm probably, I don't know, 20 minutes away, maybe 25 minutes away from Appleton. And my phone rings and it's Pam, who is, for everyone out there, that's my daughter's mom, my first ex. And I answer the phone. I'm like, hey, what's up? And she's like, so where are you? And I'm like, I'm on the way up. And she's like, are you driving through or are you already there? She's like, I got to talk to you about something, or I got to ask you something, whatever. However she put it, I'm like, what the fuck? Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I'm like, what happened? Kind of like, are you there yet? You need to prepare yourself. This is how it came across to begin with. She didn't mean to do that. But I'm like, I'm just at North Oshkosh. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, can you stop by here? I need some help. I made these pudding things. No, she's like, I made these cups of whatever. And I'm like, wait a second, what? And she's like, I got these cups. I can only put this one in here with my car. It's going on and on. I'm like, wait, do you have liquid something? And she's like, no, it's pudding. And I'm like, okay, so what do you need?
Right.
just tell me. Let's back up here.
It's a pudding emergency.
What do you need? So what it was, she made 50 of these little pudding cups, these little cakes with, and they were delicious, by the way, pudding with little crumbles and whatever, like a little worm in it. Like they were little like dirt cups of pudding,
Okay.
Very good. So for all the kids and obviously everyone else. But what the problem was is that she had these trays in it, almost like going into Aldi and having these boxes where cans were in them. And she only had room in her trunk to lay down one so it didn't tilt and tip. So she just wanted to know if I had room in my trunk. I'm like, that's fine. I'll come by. Text me your address. I'll stop by and do that. So so we do that. And I called Kimmy real quick, left her a message, and then she calls me back and she's like, wait, what do you have to do? So I just told her, she's like, she didn't say she needed something. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to go. I'll go do that. I said, I'll meet you guys there. Done. So I hung out with Pam for a little bit and, in her condo, and she showed me how to work that she was doing there. We got to the thing, got all set up, get everyone in there, blah, blah, blah. And we were sitting there kind of shooting the shit about whatever. All of us, we were hanging up these balloons and stuff in there, getting all that stuff set. And then all said and done, the kids are in there. They're, kind of doing everyone's finally is sitting down to eat these little cups. Kids are otherwise running around. And then, like kids are Ollie's opening up presents. And I just kind of looked over and I don't know if you saw the pictures I posted, but I took a picture of just Pam and Dawn standing there. And I took a couple of pictures that Kathy popped in. I'm like, oh, I said, I took a picture of those three. And then I said, I told Pam and Dawn, I said, I just took a picture of you guys. Cause I'm like, this is kind of weird. I said, my two ex-wives out in the wild together. And they're both there. They're just like, shut up.
Right.
And then, there was this balloon. It was a crane. Okay. So it was a balloon shaped, or I'm sorry, not a balloon shaped crane, a crane shaped balloon. Okay.
Okay.
So thick body, long crane, right? So think in your mind what this,
like the bird or the tool?
A truck.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like a heavy piece of machinery crane.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I whatever. I mean, thick body, long neck. It could be either one.
It could have been either one. It actually would have looked the same. So it looked like, a ball sack and a penis is what it looked like. So we're getting all this stuff down at the end, pack it up, and I grabbed the one. I'm looking at it. I walked up to Pam, and she's just got her back to me. I just jammed it through her back with this. And she looks around, and she's like, "What the hell?" She smacks the thing away. I'm laughing my ass off. And then so we're popping all these balloons, trying to get everything cleaned up. And then somebody said something about whatever. I'm like, oh, I said, you should have grabbed the penis balloon. And Dawn's like, what are you talking about, the penis balloon? Pam's like, yeah, he's poking me with it. And then Derek is the one that's blowing all of them up. So apparently Dawn's like, oh, she's like, I know one. I know that one. She's like, when Derek was blowing it up, as the air went into it, the arm of the crane was in it. So it popped up between his legs. She's like, they were laughing their asses off at him. So nice. It was just funny. It was just all this different stuff back and forth. And then Katie had one of the balloons, and she's like asking Ollie which one he wanted because he wanted to take some of the balloons. And he says, no, didn't want that one. She's like, can I pop it? Katie asked Ollie, can I pop this? And he said, yes. She popped it. He fucking screamed, tears, looking at her going, no, you shouldn't have. And she felt terrible. It's like, she's like, he told me it was okay.
He said it was okay.
It was so fucking funny. But he was in I was going to say he was moody. He was moody if he wasn't. He just wanted to play, because he was
Well,
in this
yeah.
again, this kid's paradise.
Overstimulated, right? Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and anything outside of it, he wanted nothing to do with me. And normally, he does. He pays
Mm-hmm.
attention to me.
Right.
He wouldn't allow because I said we take a picture. He's like, no. I said we can't take a selfie together. No. I'm like, well, that's fine. And I said, that's fine. Whatever, man. I'm like, okay. But I don't know. The thing of it is, and it all said and done. And I say this all the time, but I was driving back from that. Oh, I got to tell you what Pam said in a minute too. But I was driving back from that back to West Bend, and again, hour 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
and just sitting there and just thinking. I mean, same thing. All what do we do to? And I hate to use the word deserve. What do we do? What do we do to get all these things?
Right.
And when I say all these things, the ability to be there, that's number one.
Yeah.
To be invited. I'm talking about any one of us for anything, to be invited,
Mm-hmm.
to be around family, to have people happy to see us,
Right.
to be there with, I mean, you figure that, I alienated my daughter at one point. Both of my ex-wives I treated like
Mm-hmm.
absolute shit.
Of course.
It would have been a grandson that I never would have met, a son-in-law that I never would have met.
Right.
All these other people like Kimmy's brother, was there, and all these different, I'm like, these people, I'm like, I don't know. It's this wave of Jesus Christ, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the gratitude. It's the I almost said the almost not believing it, but it sort of is sometimes. You're like, it's unbelievable.
Sometimes, yeah. What's an asshole like me doing with all this happiness around me?
Yeah, and then I don't know. Pam and I were talking about something, and or we were standing out with I think maybe even Dawn was out there at the time. No, Kimmy, and Pam were out there talking about something, and I don't know. However, again, it came up. Some sobriety thing came up, and I said, I told somebody recently. I said, if you really want to get a sense of how my program is. I'm like, oh yeah, Mike. I said, Mike and I were talking about that in an episode. I'm like, ask either one of my ex-wives, and she's like, yeah. She goes, anyone could ask me, because she's like, she goes, I vouch for you these days. I said, well, yeah, because I'm not an asshole anymore. And then I stopped myself and I said, well, I said, oh, Kathy was there. And I said, well, I'm still an asshole. I'm just not. And Kathy's like, yeah, he's just not drunk anymore.
Right.
And she said, yeah. She goes, but Pam said, she goes, you know what? She goes, an example of how different that you are. She goes, I called you, and even though you seemed like you didn't want to, you came by to pick up the pudding. I'm like, listen. I said, it is not that I didn't want to. I said, do you want? And then I told her, I said, do you understand how your phone call started? She's like, no. I said, it sounded like somebody died.
Right.
And I said, like, you were going to tell me some horrible news.
Yes.
I'm like, you confused the shit out of me. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, you have to apologize. But I'm like, yes, the only thing that I thought about was if you have cups full of liquid, I had to figure out how to put that in there without dumping it in my car. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, I mean, they're not used to you actually giving a shit when they call you and ask you to do something. Right. You're like, oh my God, what's wrong?
Right.
Before it's just like, hey, asshole, I got a problem. Come help me with this. Right. But you actually care now. So yeah, it's kind of a different reaction from you.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing that, because, well, you and I, and it was within the last handful of episodes, we were talking about that even though we've got this amount of time under our belts, as you would say, you haven't said this in a while, a few 24s. We got do we have a few now or a couple?
It's still a couple. We don't get a few until 20 years.
I'm sorry. Let me start over again. So now that we have a couple, of 24s under our belts, even though people still, and I think we were talking about that there's still that people don't forget.
No.
And yeah, for something as easy as that, possibly my reaction to begin with Pam on the phone reminded her. I never thought about that, but it probably reminded her of the way things were years ago.
Sure.
And that wasn't my intention, but
of course not.
I mean, I've embedded these terrible feelings in in her.
Yep.
So. Wow, I just had you just helped me with the revelation. I understand that more now.
Yeah, right. but and again, it's that's a reaction to us because that's what we made them do all those years, and and it's probably it's going to lessen, and it already has clearly, and because if it hadn't lessened, she wouldn't have called you in the first fucking place.
Right. Yeah, and God, what was it? So 2025, or we have been, Pam and I have been apart. Jesus, and I couldn't do the math in my head. Stupid. 31 years. Okay,
Right.
it'll be 31 years on May. No. Oh shit! Just a couple of days from now, April 1st is when we physically split up. Yeah,
Nice.
surprisingly. Well, it just happened to be that's when our we were in a place in Heartland, Wisconsin. That's when our lease was up, so we decided that would be the best time to make the break is when our
done with this.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was beginning of April 1st. I think it was. If not, it would it had to have been. But yeah, so you figure fucking 31 years ago, and we didn't have anything to do with each other. She came back into my life after I moved to Madison, so 3 years in. So she's only got, and I say only, she only got 12 years of decent me, in her life. And I mean, yeah, I've helped her. I've helped her over the years, but still, it doesn't. Again, Dawn said it best. She's like, I forgive you, but I will never forget all the things that you did. She said that years ago. So I don't know. It's that's a good point. I never thought about that. I probably conjured up these. I don't mean to laugh at it, but what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Right.
But it's I did. I conjured up probably the old fucking ideas in her head.
Yeah. But remember, we're not hurting anybody but ourselves.
Yeah, isn't that the fucking truth, right?
Yep.
But that's kind of amazing.
It is.
Now that I think more about it, but all right. So that was that little story. It was a lot of fun. I mean, we had a good time.
Of course.
And I'm glad that that place that I stayed, because I didn't get to tell you this much either or talk about it much. That place I stayed in West Bend, it was really nice. I mean, very, very nice. It was. Did I tell you that I messaged the host when I first got there, and I told her, I'm like, you're underselling this place on Airbnb. I said, you're not explaining how nice this is.
Right.
And there was a garage. I was able to park my car in a garage, and
nice.
It's the first time I've ever been able to do that.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of little things, like it didn't have these are just weird things. And I didn't even bring them up to her because you could tell some of I don't know how long she's been renting this or she's just remodeled, because it kind of looks like a lot of this stuff. It literally, when I looked at it, except you could tell the refrigerator was used. For the most part, it looked like some of this shit had never been, I mean, it was brand fucking new. Microwave, stove, refrigerator, dishwasher. I mean, you could tell that the whole bathroom, everything has been redone.
Nice.
There's no blinds in the living room, so you got the patio door, a couple of big windows, that sort of thing, out facing a lake. This time of year, not really bad, but I think in the summertime, I think it'd be a little weird.
Yeah.
Just because people would be out, and then you're sitting in a living room, kind of like in a fishbowl type of thing. But little things, nothing big, but it was nice. I mean, I had a nice time there. It was very comfortable, but again, it's March in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Same as it was when I was in whatever I was in Fond du Lac last year. Same goddamn thing. Right by the lake when it was fucking cold as hell, and snowed a couple of times, but it was nice. I'm glad plus being close, and I got to see Derek a couple of times and Katie, and gave him my toolbox that I had. So did that, and all that stuff. It's just all of it was really nice. So
good.
But and this weekend I'm heading down to North Carolina, that same place I went to last time. So speaking of another place with no blinds on the windows, but that's the one that's up on the hill, the cabin up on the hill. So, but I'm looking forward to that one too. So, all right, do you want a little bit of an alcoholic story? This is going to be like a no shit type of story, okay?
All right.
Do you remember the story about Michael Jordan's son drunk in the car whenever he was driving on the railroad tracks, the whole bit? So this was a couple of weeks ago, but the headline was Michael Jordan's son, Marcus Jordan, now says he has had challenges with alcohol and substance abuse after his arrest. He said this. And first thing I thought was, well, okay. But then when I read the article, it says he's asking to be sent to rehab versus jail.
Right.
So he is now found. Oh, by the way, I'll bet
I
you it.
have
Go
some
ahead.
challenges.
Yeah, I believe I might have a substance abuse disorder. I believe I have
Mm-hmm.
challenges. I believe I would be better served in rehab than jail.
Yeah.
It's like that same thing. Going back to that musician that was all drunk singing that whatever that national anthem or
Oh
whatever it
yeah.
was, that whatever the thing was, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, that she, somebody's like, yeah, you need to go into fucking rehab to try to save your career
Mm-hmm.
here. This dude's just trying to probably literally save his ass, by
Of course.
not going to prison, but I just thought about it. I'm like, so, and I guess question for you: did you ever, did you ever get yourself? Because I mean, of course, us people call it a jackpot. Did you ever
Mm-hmm.
get yourself into a jackpot and say, "Oh, I've got a problem. I need help," versus anything like that? Or did you ever try that or no?
No. I
Okay.
mean, thankfully I never never got caught. Uh nothing too serious that I had to pull that card out. No, the only times that yeah, like homeless and I didn't want to sleep on the street.
Right.
So I go to rehab, so they can teach me how to drink properly and yeah, and I'll have a, three hots and a cot.
Right.
Well, but no, I again never got into a jackpot like that where that was an option. The only few times I was locked up were, weekends and shit like that. So it would have been useful to me. Other than the fact that, maybe I'd have got my shit together and pulled my head out of my ass, but that wouldn't have been useful to me either.
Right.
So I wouldn't have all this wonderful experience to help the next guy.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Right.
But yeah, and I thought about that too. Just as I didn't think about that question until I just asked you. But the two times that it was brought, things like that were kind of brought to the forefront were my DUI and then of course my divorce.
Right.
And I just fucking denied all of it. Of course,
Of
I was
course.
trying to control my drinking with the whole
Uh-huh.
drunk class, and then with the whole divorce, I just tried to deny it and
Uh-huh.
fought it. Fought it enough to get, at least to begin with, shortened visitation then into whatever normal visitation I had before, obviously before
Before he blew it all up eventually, right?
exactly
Just
before I
push
couldn't
it
hold it
down the road,
together.
kick that can down the road a little bit.
I did. I literally
Yep.
kicked that can down the road for a couple years. As about
Mhm.
3 years. I think I kicked it down the road because it was that first year that because it took a year from Dawn and I split beginning of January of 2006, and I think it was mid-February of the following year, so 2007 when we got divorced.
Uh-huh.
And I think I was only seeing him. I didn't even think I had him overnight in that first year.
Mhm.
And I think it was Thursday. I know Thursdays. I think might have only been Thursday nights that I saw him, like once a week or something like that. I can't remember now. I think I was drunk.
Right. Yes.
But I shouldn't laugh at that. But it's fuck it. It is what it is. But
Right.
but yeah, that's exactly. I think that's a good way to put it. I literally I kicked it down. I kicked it down the can for kicked it down. Jesus, kicked the can down the road. You know what?
As far as you could.
I think I'm tired is what the problem is. I don't know what the
Yeah.
fuck's wrong with me. I'm talking too much. That's my problem.
Right. You're carrying too much of the load. I feel sorry for you.
My fucking back hurts from carrying this podcast. Jesus Christ. All right. So one thing I want to read from the one of the readings I had from my list here. So
All
this
right.
is from God Grant Me, and I can't remember when this is from, but probably a month ago, I would guess. I will listen to my dreams. What is my mind working out in my sleep? If I remember my dreams, I will talk about them with wide awake friends. So
Ah.
my question was,
Yeah.
even in a general sense, have you ever? I don't know. I don't even want to say maybe analyze is the wrong word. Have you ever
Mm,
questioned or looked at or anything with dreams? Or that's just kind of
no.
a
And whatever you do, for God's sakes, you selfish son of a bitch, don't talk about your dreams with other people. Nobody gives a fuck.
no, and I didn't know. I just didn't know if you had some weird fucking dream, if you ever tried. And I haven't sat down with people and be like, hey, so unless it's some sex dream, and then whatever you thought about in
Well,
the sex
yeah.
dream, then and you text somebody, hey, by the way. I dreamt about you.
Right. That's creepy too. Don't talk about your dreams with anybody. Nobody cares.
Okay, well that forget I even brought that one up.
Yeah, I remember actually that one was from not all that long ago, I don't think, and because I kind of remember it, and I remember reading it, going, "God, don't do that."
Yeah, I just didn't know. I don't know that we've in all I guess now I know for a fact that we've never talked about it because I think I would have remembered that reaction and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have brought it up. All right, so here's another one. This is better. This is not about dreams. Today, from God grant me again. Today, I will write down 5 examples of times when I took myself. Oh no, that's not the one I want. Hang on. It was one I just had. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. This was about. Oh yeah. It's when I took myself too seriously. But it says, what spiritual principles could have helped me do things differently? So the reason I wrote this down, and this is an honest question,
Uh-huh.
it was talking about spiritual principles. What are the spiritual principles? Are they AA principles? Are they recovery principles? Do you know?
I
That's
mean,
why I wrote it down. I don't
oh,
know.
yeah. Well, I mean, no, I mean, the absolutes are a real good example of spiritual principles.
Okay.
They're not technically AA, but I mean, yes, of course, there's spiritual principles involved with AA. Do good, get good. That's a spiritual principle.
Okay.
Don't be an asshole. That's a spiritual principle. Uh, right. Yeah. Spiritual principles is whatever, thinking outside of yourself, thinking of something higher, greater than. Yeah. That's all spiritual principles.
Okay.
And it's individual. It can be whatever, yeah, it's, things that are bigger than you.
Yeah, and I just when I read that, seriously, the only reason I wrote it down and I did the whole thing to kind of make it, put it in context, but I'm like, did I miss, like, is there a book on this? Is written is on what page are the spiritual? I'm like, what the fuck are the spiritual principles? But I get it. So it's
Yeah.
concepts that are part of the spiritual thing. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be. It's not necessarily a list like the absolutes, although the
Right.
absolutes could be. That
Mhm.
could be part of. Okay, I get
Right.
it now.
Yeah.
But seriously, I was just like, what the what?
Yeah.
I
What I
missed
miss.
where was I that day in class?
Uh-huh. You were there. It's just, yeah, it's not. It's the principles of things that are bigger than you.
Okay, I got you. All right. So it's getting I'll tell you what. Well, I've got one more thing from a sobriety standpoint. I got one rock and roll thing and then you can fuck us off, okay? You ready?
All right.
Okay, so in this I touched on just briefly when we had Tom on, but I didn't go into it that much because obviously I didn't want to hijack what he was talking about. But so I've been hearing a lot, mainly in podcasts, but I know I've heard this over the years. There's a lot of stories that I've been hearing on podcasts, and Tom even said it. I grew up in Wisconsin, the drinking culture, and blah blah blah. So I hear a lot of people. Either I'm hearing more people saying it or it's just I'm picking up on it more. Drinking is so ingrained in our culture, quote unquote. Or when I was growing up, drinking was a part of how could I not, or how could I have lived in Wisconsin and not been part of that sort of thing?
All right.
And it's, again, I don't know if I'm just noticing it more, if it's being talked about more, but it bothers me a little bit. It feels like, I don't know. I'll tell you that in a minute, but it's bothering me a little bit. So I just wanted to bring it up and see if you've thought about this or heard about it, or if you have any thoughts on it whatsoever. Go, Mike.
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly, alcohol is part of our culture. James Bond, man, fucking dry martini, shaken, not stirred.
Right.
Yeah, it's just one example. I mean, yes, it's part of the fabric of society, has been for a long time, since that first time they drank that rotten fruit juice or whatever it was. Yeah, I don't know. Again, using it sounds like it's an excuse. Yeah, it's a trigger. It's it's yeah, I mean, I grew up, in a drinking culture too. Detroit, Polacks, I mean, they drink a lot. Catholics, they drink a lot.
Right.
All that. Yeah, sports culture, drinking yes, it's part of it. Okay. So, what's that got to do with anything? Right. Yes, it exists. Okay. What's that got to do with me? I can use it as an excuse. Oh, I grew up around it. Yeah, I did. So what? I've talked about when I was a kid, many of the houses that I hung out in had bars in them.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I remember being very, very young and going and playing around the bars, being behind them and pretending I was, serving drinks, sitting at them, pretending I was drinking. Yes, okay, because I'm an alcoholic. I was from the get-go. Has nothing to do with culture. I could have been raised Amish where it wasn't anywhere around me at all, and I still would be an alcoholic. So it's neither here nor there to me. Again, it sounds like some sort of excuse that I'm not buying into.
Right. So, and I was trying not to lead you or tell you what my
Mm.
opinion was, but that was exactly what I think that's why I didn't even think. I know that's why it's bothering me because I'm
Right.
looking at it. I'm hearing these people as excuses.
Mhm.
Well, I
Uh-huh.
grew up here. What do you expect? This is what it
Right.
was. What do you expect? Blah blah blah. What do you expect? And I was like, really? Okay. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, so people say Wisconsin. Yes, I spent
Yeah.
if you want to call them your formative years in Wisconsin. Yes, I spent
Mhm.
those in Wisconsin. But I was born in Cleveland,
Right.
and I lived in Pittsburgh. And
Mhm.
every place that I lived, I remember people drinking and having parties and doing whatever. It didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, right.
Um,
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure they sell liquor in all 50 states
correct. Right.
and
And
in most of the countries around the world.
yes, and the bar in the basement. Yes, when my
Yep,
dad refinished our basement, of course there was a fucking bar. Why
of
wouldn't there
course.
be?
Right.
That was the thing. When you built a basement. To this day, when you see
Yeah.
people, when Don and Corey rebuilt or built their basement,
Uh-huh.
they built a bar down there, and
Yep.
I don't know if I ever told you this. So what they did was, and this is actually quite honestly very fucking cool. The surface of their bar is all bottle caps.
Yeah.
So they took all like beer bottle caps
Yeah.
and then spread them around and then put I don't know if they put a glaze on or whatever, but
Yeah.
they're all
Epoxy or
yeah,
something.
something like
Right.
that. But it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
And right after they had it done, we were down there. I think it was Derek's his graduation thing. We went down there,
Mhm.
and I'm like, this is fucking cool. And I think both of them were like, it took fucking forever.
Uh-huh.
I mean, probably to drink all of
Right.
it to a certain extent. You get people over, it doesn't take that long. But
Uh-huh.
putting them all in there it was actually very cool. So it's a thing. I don't know. And I was looking at it the same way, but I was trying really hard not to not give my opinion. But
Mm.
you ended up in the same place that I was thinking, and that's I don't know why I'm picking up on it more now than I used to, but it just seems like I listen to these sober motivation podcasts and just random
Mhm.
ones. All these people, well, I grew up here, so this is what it was. I
Uh-huh.
was this. I was
Mhm.
Irish. I was Catholic, like you
Uh-huh.
just said. It's just
Right.
all these things. And I'm like, yeah, okay, one way or the other. I mean, because Kathy grew up in the same culture. She's not a recent
Right.
fucking alcoholic or drug
Yeah.
addict.
Mhm.
So at
Exactly.
least as far as we know.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. If it comes out that she's been hiding all these years, good job, Kath. You're
Right.
you get the award. You're better than the two of us. That's for
Yeah,
goddamn
damn
sure.
right. Because we weren't fooling anybody.
No, not at all. Okay, so this is the last thing, and this is just this won't take long. I don't think you'll hate this, but you may.
There's always a chance.
Yeah, so this is it's time for rock and roll talk with Sober Not Mature and Bill and
All
Mike.
right.
So this is the 7 most iconic classic rock intros
Okay.
of all time.
Uh-huh.
And the funny part is I don't think these are numbered in any particular order. But anyhow,
Okay.
so what's your opinion of the band Boston and the song Foreplay? Because that's one of them on the list. Foreplay going into Long Time. Do you like Boston? Yes, no, indifferent?
They're okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I
And
mean, it's not really a band, but it's like a guy that, did all that. But yeah,
was it
it's
really?
all right. Yeah. Yeah. That was his Tom Schultz. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he pretty much that first album he did by himself in his basement.
Did he really? So
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know that. And you know what? That first album, we were living in Parma at the time, I believe, when that came out, because that would have been early 70s.
Oh, that's why you're drunk. You lived in Parma.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Polish Parma pierogies. I probably had a pierogi. I don't even fucking remember it.
Right.
But yeah, that was actually one. I mean, that to this day, that album reminds me of high school. Yes, because we listened to Boston High School. But I mean, it literally reminds me of that time frame. Okay, so
Right.
that's one. Crazy Train. Ozzy.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Next one.
Yeah.
The Immigrant Song. Led Zeppelin, of course.
Right.
Okay. These are supposed to be, again, like, should I read the title again to bring back some of the
Yeah,
excitement?
the intros. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, okay.
I just didn't know if you were clear on what we were talking about here. I just wanted to make it clear. Crazy on You by Heart.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hang on. There got to be more. Fat Bottom Girls, Queen. Okay. That was a
far better ones.
Okay, was that 7 already? I hope so, because I can't take any more of that. Oh, Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd. I know you hate Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And was that it? That was it. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Okay.
Dire Straits, Money for Nothing.
Ugh.
I didn't think you liked Dire Straits.
No.
Okay, so I'm glad.
Good talk.
Good talk, son. Good talk. All right, so yeah, you know what? That was a swing and a miss. It's okay. It's baseball season. You know, I'm gonna strike out every once in a while. That was one of how many at bats this year. So, all right, we're let's get the fuck out of here. It's your turn.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. As always, be kind to each other. Be good to each. Sorry, man. Be good to each other. Go out and do something nice for somebody else this week. Don't tell anybody you did it. Good Lord. All right. Now, from the bottom of my heart to the depths of my soul, from the beginning of time till the ends of the earth, always and eternally, fuck you. Now it's time, kids. It is that time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying, you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever. Bye.
just real quick, I wish you would have done that whole intro like you did to start out with. There's a thing on the morning show that I listen to. They call it Broadcast Student, where they'll read stuff like that every once in a while. I want everyone to keep fucking off.
Yes.
I was laughing my ass off because that's what it reminded me of. So, all right. So everyone, this will be the shortest episode in probably 2.5 years. Enjoy. Yep. As the corporate people say, we're going to give you 20 minutes back. Hey.
All
right, man. You know what? Feel better, brother. I love you.
I'm trying. I love you too.
And I think we'll talk soon.
We probably will.
Bye.
Bye. And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.